welcome back to our penultimate session. Hold on, let me turn this music down a little bit. It's a little intense. I can actually do it from my brand new device here.
Ooh.
There we go. Welcome back to the next penultimate episode, The Silence of the Spiritsong. It's been a wild and crazy campaign so far, and as I was just saying before we got on air, I'm quite surprised that they're all still alive. Good on you. Quick recap as to how we got here. Back onto the Ying Xing Research Outpost off the east coast of the Dreamwood. You were just at Datura, or what was left of Datura. You had an encounter with the Ironclad Legion. Historically, they were allied or in allegiance with the Necromancers in the Necromantic Wars over 1,000 years ago, but times have changed, and so have allegiances. They have, in fact, helped you. And Old Bog might have found himself a new mate in the process. However, Datura is in a dire state. And with Enid's old mentor, Thadric, and Celine Starsong, the last of the druids of the Order of Balance, they delved into Datura in search of the evil that lay deep within its caverns. With that threat being addressed, they urged that you proceed onward with your own quest to find Kraumein, to find Bad Pookie and the source of the new Evan chant that now haunts the Dreamwood. Foil his plans, destroy the Evan chant, and restore some semblance of peace within the Dreamwood. It is odd that in all of this time, Soto, you have not heard word as to the safety of Ruth and Merle and your family back in the down below beneath the Jawa Ivory tree. And that weighs heavy on your mind because no news in this case is probably bad news. Ulasar, your brother, has offered to return to Jawa to find out what happened to your family and protect them if need be. However, you have asked that he accompany you to the Outer Isles in search of Kraumein. Along with him, I forgot to build this guy out again. Sorry. You guys give him a name or her a name or them a name.
Oh, the rando that we got.
the rando. Sure.
Theodore.
Jarf Dungeon.
Theodore, we like it.
All right, Theodore, the archer on loan, the Geffen archer from the Ironclad Legion, has also accompanied you to assist you in your endeavors. You had a magical conch shell, which Philowan, your other brother Soto, wanted to obtain for himself for some reason. Now, this conch shell, you, after an identify spell, you realize would take you back to where it was constructed, which happens to be the Ying Xing Research Outpost. So, after having blown on it, it transported all of you here. And when you arrive, you see and find a much different place than when you last left it, Enid and Harlow. The research outpost seems desolate. I mean, it was already kind of empty with just two professors, part-time third professor that occasionally visited, and yourselves as the occupants. But now, when you arrive, you only find Professor Cobras in his office, bloodied, slumped over his desk, and nobody else in sight. You can see that the place is in somewhat of disarray. You can see scorch marks along the walls as if there was some sort of magical fight in the corridors of this outpost recently. You can still smell that acrid smoke fill the air along with the salt of the sea, which is raging and storming around you. And that's where we start tonight's session in Professor Cobras' office. He is conscious, he is alive, but gravely wounded. He does not seem to acknowledge you when you enter. You can see his black cat just sleeping curled up on his desk, not really caring, cleaning itself. Cobras, his breath is ragged, and when you look at him, you can see feathers strewn about his desk and blood kind of trickling from a nasty looking wound that kind of crosses across his scalp. His eyes open, and you can see they look tired, worn. You don't know how long he's been here. The blood that's soaked into the pages on his desk gone dark and almost crusty. It's dried. So he's been here for some time, it seems. But when he opens his eyes, he immediately stands up straight, pushes himself back from the chair, and can see sparks of electricity in his hands until he recognizes you. Oh, and the sparks just sputter and die out in his hands as he slumps back into his chair once more. Oh, it's you.
What happened?
He looks around the room and he sees all of you crowding. His office is not that big, so you guys are squished into this place. Theodore is going to hang out in the hallway along with Ulasar because there's not enough room in his office. And his eyes rest on you, Kokoro, for a moment. And his eyes narrow a little bit as he sees you. But then he moves on to look at you, Harlow. And his gaze softens. The heavens. You're safe.
Not what I would have expected to hear from you, Master. What's going on here?
What just transpired since you left? You came on. Or is this all? This is your company?
Yes. My friends. My allies.
I have so many questions for you, Harlow, but there's no time. Your friend, what was his name? The Vulpin.
Vin?
Yes, that's the scrawny one that was always hanging around here.
What about it?
I've summoned him back. Where? He looks a little confused a little bit, and he looks past you. Where's Zuko?
We left Joa and we went elsewhere first. He was to come here with...
He was here.
We haven't seen him yet. Was he still here when whatever happened here happened and you became unconscious? Did he go somewhere else?
Don't know. When the fight broke out, he fled. I don't know where. That Strig. What about her?
Well, Soto knows more about her, but did they not seem aligned anymore?
Aligned? And he gingerly touches the top of his head. Blood still kind of oozing out of the wound there. Says, does this look aligned to you?
So it was not Zuko who was involved in the attack. It was the Strig only.
I underestimated her.
You already knew her? Or...
I knew of her. I have never met her. I understand she was Professor Silverberry's resident or student.
It wasn't.
I can't believe that. Soto's just gonna look. exceedingly frustrated because another of his siblings is getting into trouble. So,
She was mucking around in Silverberry's library looking for something. I don't quite know what. When I interrupted her, she seemed rather upset. Threw several missiles at me. I tried to fight back, but before I could land a spell on her, she had disappeared. Along with whatever she was looking for, I gather.
when did you last see her?
It must have been. He looks at a timepiece that's knocked over on his desk. He uprights it, and it's been about 6 hours now.
Okay. So, and Professor Zuko was there at the time as well. Did he disappear at the same time?
He came to get me, informing me of their arrival, and we both returned to find her ransacking Silverberry's library. When I confronted her, Zuko just left.
Did you see what she was looking for?
She looks at you and Harlow, and he looks around at the rest of the room, especially at Kokoro. Your friends. Can they be trusted?
Yes.
I would feel better if that one waited outside. And he gestures at you, Kokoro.
I would feel better, Professor Copris, if you were not involved at all. What I've come to learn is that my friends here are the only ones who have had my back consistently, at least through all of this. And many of the people that I've grown up with, that they have grown up with, are the ones who cannot be trusted. So if you have something to share, you may as well not waste any time in making us reiterate it a second time later.
He suddenly looks very sad. And he sits back into his chair and almost has a defeated look about him. And he's only addressing you, Harlow. Sorry. There's much that I kept from you. Whether it was the right thing to do or not, I don't know. Perhaps not, but I did it to protect you. What do you remember of the day your parents went to the Outer Isles?
I remember it's just flashes. I don't know what order, but being on a beach together, a cook pot, dragonflies. I don't know.
Come here. I won't hurt you. Please.
I take a few steps forward, and as I do, at my sides, my mechanical gauntlets, I have them kind of spring open. It's not too disruptive, but they, like his spell with the lightning, have a flicker of flame that runs across the fingers. And I step towards him on his side of the desk.
He glances over at your gauntlets for a moment, and you can see him smile and says, nice trick. And he reaches out with a very taloned finger and just pokes you on the head. And then as he makes contact, it's like a knife has just stabbed you right through your brain. And as that blinding sensation just subsides, you start to fill in a lot of pieces that were missing. And you realize, make an Arcana check, actually.
Hey. I don't know if I've ever made an Arcana check as Harlow.
Can I help her?
Oh,
This is a very
good.
personal thing for her, so you won't be able to help her at this time.
it worked out
Alright.
okay anyway.
Good.
Yeah. You realize he has lifted a spell upon you. A long time ago, he implanted a modify memory spell on you for you to forget a lot of those details of that day. And now all those memories start to come back to you. You remember on that boat, even leaving the Ying Xing Research Outpost, Professor Cobras and your parents and Professor Silverberry, they were all very, very close friends. And as Edwin, their guide, takes them off on a boat, you can see Professor Cobras waving in the background as you head out to the outer isles. When you reach the outer isles, you remember everything you said. You remember the beautiful dragonflies, the nice little camp you set up on the beach. It was very serene, very tranquil, very beautiful here. And you remember your mother being enthralled by these dragonflies. And you remember your father calling her my dragonfly. And Edwin was keeping a watchful eye out on you, just making sure you were safe as the other three ventured deeper into the jungle, away from the beach. You waited there for what seemed to be the better part of a day, just playing in the sand, playing on the beach, collecting shells, trying to catch dragonflies. Edwin, you could tell, was starting to get a little worried. But by the time dusk rolled around, all you saw was Professor Silverberry stumble out of the jungle towards your camp, bloodied. No sign of your parents. And he urgently asked Edwin to load out the boat, take you, and get back to the outpost. There is danger on this island. When you return back to the outpost, that is when Professor Cobras modified your memory tile to make you forget what happened that day. And as those memories, and ever since then, things make sense. And he pulls out a little picture from a book. It's this little sketch that someone painted, and it is of Professor Cobras with your parents. It looks like they're standing in front of the luminarium together, all wearing robes of graduates.
Why would you take this from me?
They're very dear to me. And when they did not return, I wanted to spare you that pain. And when I learned of the evil that lurked on that island, and when Edwin insisted that I tell you about it, I might have modified his memory too and sent him on a Gaius to return back to Wickham Harbor and not to return until commanded to do so.
Could have. I was so young. You could have told me that they were attacked by wild animals or something, and it would have still made sense. But you took everything. How does this protect me? I've had to live all of this and learn it the hard way anyway.
There is a great evil on that island. And he looks towards you again, Kokoro. In ages long past, even predating the necromantic wars, the Outer Isles was home to a vast kingdom, predominantly Kenku. A series of natural disasters devastated their civilization, and those who survived fled to the Dreamwood. Your ancestors. He looks towards you, Kokoro. Now, those islands are only haunted by ghosts. And they are beyond the reach of the Dreamwood, and they were beyond the reach of the Spiritsong. I could not risk you returning to those islands in search of your parents. And so I sent you to the Luminarium, when I could not teach you magic as I tried to do, for your parents' sake. But you're a stubborn one, and the arcane arts just don't seem to stick with you. But I am glad you have found another calling. Professor Zuko tells me that you have a spark.
When he says that, I raise my gauntleted fist and I clench it, and the flame jumps across it, similar to before. I slam my other hand down on his desk just to kind of pack it home, and I use my telekinetic shove to push him, and I say, so instead of protecting me, of giving me anything like a family, you created distance. And he pushes, if I succeed,
I
5
will let
feet
you
away
succeed.
from me. Okay. He pushes 5 feet away from me. You could have cared about me. You could have made me think you cared about me. You could have let me remember my parents loving me. I can do anything. You wouldn't let me be myself. You slowed all this down, and now we're facing the same danger either way. We're not all meant to be parents. And you didn't choose to have kids anyway. You did your best. I know what it's like to make hard choices. I wouldn't be here if not for you. Let's try to put it aside and face what's coming. From the
You
looks
know,
you're giving my friend here, it seems like you already know about what's going on with Kraumein. Or some.
I suspected for quite some time that after the Necromantic Wars, Kraumein retreated to the Outer Isles. And that is why I intentionally stationed myself here, to keep a watchful eye on those isles for any sign or activity of his return. And your parents had the same goal in mind.
So, Silverberry, was he, correct me, I'm not sure if I remember if you said, was he with them when they went into the jungle?
That is correct.
When he reappeared, you've been working alongside him all these years here at the outpost. You didn't suspect anything, or what's been going on there?
He gave me no reason to suspect him. He continued his research. His demeanor was always a little odd, off-putting, still quite garrulous. So he kept to his end of the station, I kept to mine.
We have since found a lot of evidence that unfortunately he passed, and Kraumein has somehow managed to inhabit his body or make himself look like Silverberry all this time. I'm going to show him or explain to him about Silverberry's tome and the hidden messages, ending the date when this convergence happened, and the day they all went out into the jungle and all that. So we've been untying these knots for a while now. Seems like everything's coming to a head out here.
As you finish that sentence, you all hear a voice yelling from outside. There seems to be some commotion where boats come to dock at the station. He just, hello? Hello, is anyone there? You recognize the voice immediately, Harlow. It's Edwin.
I'm just gonna leave. I'm gonna run out the door.
Scrambling up the steps out of a small skiff, Professor Zuko and Edwin.
There's been a lot. I'm gonna walk out of the door toward the pier, and I think I'm just gonna stare at them kind of blankly, like this. There's no way this is happening. This is so weird.
Edwin just rushes up the stairs and takes you into a big hug. Oh my God. I'm so sorry. And he won't let go. And you just hear Professor Zuko in the back saying, That's one tough kid.
Where have you been? Have you been okay?
I've been fine. I've been running. I'm guiding fishermen up and down the coast for the past few years. It was weird. I mean, I just this morning, it's like a fog lifted over me, and I remember everything now. I'm so sorry. I should never have let him do. Oh, where is that Cobras? I'm gonna wring his scrawny, feathery neck.
He's inside. He lifted a modification spell on me as well, and I remember things I didn't know I knew. But we don't have time for that. We need him right now to figure out what's going on here. I'm just glad you're okay. Did you ever get my note? I tried that last day when you were leaving. I tried to throw it into the boat, but I didn't know if it would be found.
You mean this? And he reaches into a pocket. For the life of me, for the longest time, I didn't know what this meant. I didn't know who it was. I felt it was important.
Well, at least I know I have all right aim. That's comforting. I'm just happy to see you.
And I'm so happy to see you. What is going on? Why are you back here? And who are they? As he points up and at your friends.
These are my friends, and I'm going to introduce everybody. And we are, long story short, Silverberry's evil. He's actually been dead for a very long time, and someone's been impersonating him. That's the person who is responsible for the Spiritsong being gone, and now the even chant happening. And we need to stop it before there's a whole nother necromantic war, much worse than the first one, probably. And kind of our fault about the second creepy song. Working on it. Definitely have to go back to the Out Islands and fight a lot of scary shit.
It's a lot. Wow. Professor Tuttle. Do you remember her?
Yes.
She's the one that came to lift the spell that whatever I was out under. She's left for the Outer Isles already. She wouldn't say why, but she told me that once I arrived here, I would find you and perhaps others, and that you were to go to the Outer Isles immediately. I don't know why. Why would you want to go back there? That place is death.
You're right. But Kraumein is out there, and worse is coming if we don't stop them.
It have to be you? Why don't we send Cobras?
Let's ask him. Worst case, it might be kind of funny. I don't know. He couldn't beat him last time. We got to try something else. They fought that day with my parents. Cobras could do it. He would have.
So useless, that bird. Professor Zuko just rests a hand on his shoulder and says, "Let's go inside, child. We have a few things to discuss before we make our way to the Outer Isles. Some things you should know."
I'm going to just follow them in.
You guys make your way back to Silverberry's old office. And Professor Zuko's just poking around, and this place is trashed. There's already a mess to start with, but it is. I mean, if you could tell it was worse, I don't know.
I have a terrible track record with libraries in this.
But he looks over at you, Soto, and says, "So that was your sister, huh?"
Unfortunately, yes. What happened?
She almost took my head off. That's what happened, but hey,
There's something going on with her and my other brother, and I'm not sure what.
her magic is pretty darn strong. And I don't know if they teach that stuff at the Luminarium. I don't remember taking those classes, but if she's working with Kraumein, then things don't look so bright for us. But I have an inkling as to what she was looking for. It's do do any of you happen to know anything about soul keeping?
Is Professor Cobra still with us in the library?
No, he's still in his office.
Okay. Then I'll walk down and let my dad mouse kind of crawl out onto my shoulder from my bag. Be like, as long as you don't ask any questions, I know someone who does.
He looks at that.
That's my
Fat.
dad.
He looks, Remy?
Questions.
Oh, that was rhetorical. Sorry, I didn't mean that. Is that really Remy in there?
Tell. Every time we've asked, or I've asked a direct question, he's been able to speak in my head and answer me, but his body deteriorates. So I'm afraid to try anything else.
You know why? This is not my area of specialty. Your father was much more proficient at this stuff. I'm just like a little baby bookworm compared to him. He's like mega brain guy. But if I recall correctly, that's what did he call it? A soul cage? Something along those lines. But there's something else. That's one way to trap a soul. Another way to trap a soul is something called a magic jar. And that is why I think Rashstel was here as he walks over to a section of the bookshelf that is all about soul keeping, soul catching. And there are several books missing.
Interesting. So, for Kraumein, for all of them, like as a backup? Or why?
Now, your father, sorry, he doesn't know which one to look at. He doesn't want to talk about your father in the third person while he's there. Remy, here, he's a genius at artificing and creating constructs of such nature that to hold things. That was the crux of his research. To make constructs that could be a vessel to hold spirits, or perhaps even their own spirits, automatons, for lack of a better word. I believe that when your father arrived on that island, Kraumein, if he's the same Kraumein that was from the Necromantic Wars, there's no way he could have lived that long. The only way that I can gather that he lived so long is if he stored his soul in a magic jar. And your father just happened to come by at the wrong time. Or Silverberry, too. Managed to swap souls with Silverberry. So if my theory is correct, and this really is a magic jar, Silverberry's soul is trapped in that jar someplace. Well, Kraumein.
So they came across this magic jar where Kraumein's soul was being stored so that he could come back at some point. How would they have swapped? How would that happen? And then how would my father be in the mouse also?
I don't know how all that happened, but my guess, if I understand how magic jars work, is that as soon as somebody happens to walk within a certain distance of a magic jar, and Kraumein was in there, he could take possession of their body.
Oh, okay.
And swap places. How Remy ended up the way he is and where your mother is, I don't know after that. Obviously, it didn't quite work out, but Pookie is a construct. And I swear to God, there's no way Kraumein could have done that on his own. He must have had help creating that vessel, and I think that's what he used your father for.
To build Pookie.
Now, I know your father would never have done an evil thing. So either he was. I mean, I guess we could just ask him. Wait. How many questions have you asked him already?
2. I've asked 2 questions.
You can
And-
ask 3 before he dies.
It's always the magic number. Ugh. I don't want to ask another question.
Mr. Zuko, I have a question for you if you're able to answer.
Mhm.
Our body from decaying. Do you believe that this would be helpful in mitigating the effects of the questions for Dead Mouse?
There's no body. If my research is correct, your father's body is already gone. What's left of him is in that mouse. Now,
Is
all
there-
of these questions that you have, Remy was there. He knows what happened. You could ask him, but that would be it. And you can see your mouse dad on your shoulder. It's looking at you. And he gives you a little nod.
I don't know. I'm worried that if I ask the wrong thing, we can only get so much information from one question and then he's gone forever.
Professor Zuko just puts his hands on his hips and says, "That's a tough one, kid. Wouldn't want to be in your shoes. The one thing you might want to consider is, I mean, I knew your pa, he was a good man. And I'm sorry. As much as he loved his trinkets and he points at the little mouse. That's no life. It's called a soul cage for a reason.
Is there no way to move a cage from like a soul cage to the magic jar or something like that?
A little bit. Just I'm no expert in necromancy. Maybe that's possible, but I can guarantee you that magic jar, the one that holds Silverberry's soul, that is likely with Kraumein, because Kraumein has to have it near him. Because if something were to happen to Silverberry's body, he would have to go back to this jar. So you would need to be pretty darn close to Kraumein to try that trick.
I'm gonna look at my dad mouse on my shoulder and be like, it would be so cool if I knew what you were thinking about this. Not asking a question. Well, what do you guys all think about this? What would you want to know?
You mean from Dead Mouse?
Yeah, or in general. I mean, if there's something that he might know that could make a difference for us.
Well, given the logic that he was there on the day that possibly that Silverberry was transferred into this magic jar, there might be some information regarding how to reverse that magic or to keep Kraumein from continuing to create these extra soul vessels. Or I also just the question of where does that soul go when released or disimprisoned from a quote unquote soul cage?
Okay. I'm like making notes in my, as you're talking, I'm making notes in my workbook. I'm like, I don't think it's like a genie. I feel like I'm trapping myself with like the genie rules, like, the monkey's paw thing where if I don't ask it right, he wants to help. Okay.
How did Dad Mouse answer last time?
Well, he was pretty direct, but he made it clear that it was him and also that he loved me.
Was he speaking in full sentences?
Yeah,
Fragment?
he sounded normal. It was just inside my head. It was like we were having a conversation, but just the one back and forth because one question kind of a thing.
Yeah, at least it's cryptic, but maybe when you ask him the question, you can tell him he can take as long as he needs to answer it fully.
True. I mean, he can hear you now. If possible, a very thorough answer would be appreciated. Okay.
Like, take us back, right? Maybe he can tell you exactly what happened and how it happened. Right? Like from the beginning, from when Kraumein forced him or asked him or made him do that up until maybe you can like tell me the story of from there until the moment that we met, like what happened. So you can maybe get like a full biopic on your dad, which will help you get to know him a little bit better, but then you can get maybe full answers and everything.
I'm gonna look at Dad Mouse and kind of take a couple steps away and just kind of sit down in one of these chairs that isn't toppled over. And I'm gonna have him in front of me and I'm gonna say, I think you should decide what happens to you. So, if there's a way to save you, I'd like to do that. But if you have something you'd rather tell me, if that's what you want, maybe you could.
He's nodding his head vigorously.
Okay. Then I'm going to look at him and I'm going to say, what do you want me to know?
You can see when you ask him this question, this little steel and metal mouse made of gears and fake pieces of fur just start to rust. And you can hear like little springs going inside him as they break. But his mind comes clear in your own. I want you to know so many things. I want you to know that I love you. I want you to know that both me and your mother are very, very proud of you. I want you to know that you're in grave danger. I'm sorry for my part in all of this. I did what I had to do to protect your mother and you. I made a deal with Kraumein. He promised to leave you and your mother alone if I would help him. He asked me to build a vessel for him. A vessel strong enough to hold a song, like the Spiritsong. And he brought me the most atrocious little stuffed animal. From it, I built what you now call Pookie. I built the chimes to help him control the undead. And I built my own cage. He is in Silverberry's body. Kraumein has no body of his own left, so he must possess another. And he carries with him at all times his magic jar. Because if he is ever beyond 100 feet from it and either the jar is broken or he dies, then he will perish.
100 feet?
I want you to know that I'm thankful that it was you who released me, know that Kraumein has dominion over the undead and those who have passed the veil. So if you were to see me again, Kraumein's service, do not hesitate. But you must.
Understand? Okay.
Those words, the mouse literally disintegrates in your hand.
I'm just gonna sit there with it, like, cupped, and kind of stare at it. Kind of shaking a little bit. Lower my hands to the table. And I'm just gonna sit there.
Professor Zuko walks over with a somber expression on his face and gently puts a hand on your shoulder. Mean to rush you, kid. We gotta get ourselves to that island before Professor Tuttle gets herself into too much trouble.
Right. Of course. I'm gonna close my hand over the remnants of the dad mouse body and put it in my empty pouch that I have. And I'm going to explain. He told me that if we break the magic jar or we separate him from it 100 feet, I think he said, he'll die. I'll make sure I said that loud enough for everybody, like all of you guys to hear.
At least we know what we're looking for. Professor Chicken Guy, did you ever have any interactions with Silverberry at the Luminarium?
No, not a whole lot. No.
And now that you know that that wasn't Silverberry, any interactions seem a little funny or
In
different?
hindsight, truth be told, all of them wizards up in the Luminarium act a little funny, so that's hard to say. And he looks at the rest of you and says, I mean, I wish I could help you guys out. I wish I could go to the island with you guys, but I need to get my feathered ass back to the Luminarium. It would seem there's something going on at the Joe Iver tree that requires all hands on deck.
Yes, we haven't heard back. People's families are there, and we were expecting news. Messages don't seem to have been coming out.
Jives with what I've been hearing. There just seems to be some trouble brewing. It would seem now that the Ebonchant has taken hold, Spiritsong is dead, seems as though there's a little bit of chaos in town, and the wardens apparently have their hands full, and they're calling in for help from the faculty of the Luminarium. So,
Okay. If you are going back, if you speak with the wardens, would you please tell Elder Miko that we spoke with Padme, and it's complicated, but she will help with everything that's going on. And if he's willing to welcome her back, at least for that, and deal with things later, she will support. Seems like we need everyone we can get.
all right, I will relay that message. And he looks across at the rest of you. Anyone else have any messages they want me to take back to Joa?
Yeah, send backup. His Hoojesty will know what to do.
Yeah, unfortunately, this outpost is the furthest teleportation circle that they could possibly come through. So yeah, if you guys are headed out to the Outer Isles, that's like another day and a half journey out there, from what I understand. Reinforcements might come, but they'll be a little late.
Okay, well, at least if you can explain to them about the magic jar with Kraumein. He looks like Silverberry now, but if you can separate it from him or destroy it, if we fail,
right.
Someone should know.
I'll spread that knowledge around. Anyone else?
Not so much a request, but a question. Professor Zuko, what is your knowledge of the relationship between Silverberry and Kieran?
I know Karen was a student of his. Not much more than that. I knew that Karen was head archivist. Not for very long, but apparently they did a good job too. I don't know. I
So
don't
no
know. myself.
knowledge of Professor Silverberry's interest in Kieran.
Well, Karen, from what I recall, they were an outspoken one. They're one of the few who questioned the morality of the Spiritsong in the first place. That's honestly all I know about Karen, let alone the relationship they had with Silverberry. Sorry.
That's more than enough knowledge, thank you.
Professor, did you interact with my sister at all?
Your sister. Now, she pulled one on me and Professor Cobras. I don't know about. I hate to speak ill of kin. I would watch my back around that one.
Never said anything unusual, out of place, odd. I'm trying to figure out some sort of motive. I can't grasp at anything right now.
All she mentioned was that there was research here that was vital for her to find. But that's all she said.
She was appointed head archivist after Kieran. I wonder if that has any correlation with anything. Must be connected somehow.
From what I recall, it was Professor Silverberry who pulled a few strings to get her that position.
I wonder if she went along not knowing his true nature.
That might be possible, but that wouldn't explain or excuse the fact that she tried to kill me and Professor Cobras just a few hours ago.
Certainly does not.
Can't choose family.
Learned that the hard way. Is Ulusar here? Is he hearing any of this, or is he still in the hallway somewhere?
Ulisar's still in the hallway.
Okay. I'll have to debrief him later then.
He looks over at you, Obongs. What about you, old man? Any family back home you want me to send a message to?
Nope. Just gonna find that pickle jar and crack it.
Yeah, get going now. I gotta find Professor Cobras. I can't open up a teleportation circle if it hit me on the head, but Harlow. I know it ain't much, but I want to give you something. Maybe just it may help, may not, I don't know. But you see the massive tool belt that he wears around his waist. It says, nothing much, but this belt has helped me out in a pinch or two. Maybe where you're going, you might find it useful. And he passes over to you a belt of useful items.
Awesome. Whoa. You got a lot of stuff in there.
That's quite a big belt.
Thank you. That means a lot, Professor.
It ain't nothing. You just get yourself home safe. And I'm sorry about your paw.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Take care. Be careful.
Where is that Edwin kid? Jesus, always disappearing. And he wanders off, and Edwin finds you. As Professor Cobras and Professor Zuko prepare to teleport back to the Joe Iver tree, Edwin pulls up in his skiff. It's large enough to carry all of you, but it'll be tight. And it's a long journey. You sure you want to do this?
I don't think it matters that much at this point.
He looks over at Ulasar and Old Bog and Soto and some of your other friends and says, I mean, they look tough enough to deal with. Why don't why don't I take you back to Wickham Harbor and wait this out?
If they're going, I'm going. We've fought together many times, and hey, if I die, well, I've been back once.
Kind of looks wide-eyed at you. We have a lot to catch up on. But if you're going, my God, I'm not going to let you out of my sight again.
All right, well, it's been a while since we've seen each other. We haven't been in combat together. Do you feel comfortable, like, being able to go into a fight like this?
I've been spearfishing and hunting in these islands and shores for a lot since you were in diapers, kid. So yeah, I know what I'm doing.
All right, as a team then.
So he pushes off and you head out into the stormy seas.
How long is the ride there?
Long. And the seas are rough.
Is it enough for us to rest during that or no?
Take a look at these waves. You're in an oversized rowboat. You tell me how much rest you're going to be able to get.
Yeah. Quick nap, motion of the ocean.
I will say that during your time at the Ying Xing Research Outpost, you will have had enough time for a long rest. And Harlow, I know that you're redoing your gadgetry stuff, so you have time to, with the help of Professor Zuko, no less, construct whatever you need to in this time. So yeah, you consider yourself have a long rest. Is there anything you're thinking of in particular?
Before,
Okay.
yeah. So technically, we would have had a long rest before taking off.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think before leaving, I probably would have gone back upstairs and talked to Professor Cobras for a little bit.
Ah, okay.
What's your beef, bro?
I'm gonna knock on the door before walking in.
Enter.
Hey there.
You can see him busy stacking piles of books together, stuffing them into bags and pouches and whatnot as he prepares for his journey back to the Jowar tree. He's not really looking at you, but when he realizes that it is you of all people, he stops.
I close the door behind me. Feeling better?
I'm on the mend. What do you want?
Came to offer a helping hand. Maybe can mend you up a little bit quicker so you can have a safer trip.
Thank you.
Look fine.
I know who you are.
Who am I?
Girl.
Ding, ding, ding.
Your parents are on the High Council to Joa Evertree.
Hmm.
I know that Harlow counts you among your friends, so I'm being as polite as I can. What do you want?
We're in private. You don't have to be polite. Clearly, you hold some animosity towards me. I've never even met you. Wouldn't really be here if I didn't believe in the people that I'm with. So, what do you have against me? You don't know me. You know things about me, which anybody that can read a ledger can figure it out. So what is it?
You know why Kraumein started the Necromantic Wars 1,000 years ago.
No, man, I wasn't alive back then.
And clearly you have not gone to school.
Wasn't really much of a school person.
He looks up at his shelf, pulls down a huge tome, History of the Dreamwood, and just bangs it with a loud crash onto his table as for bedtime reading. But the part that would interest you the most is that Kraumein started the Necromantic Wars because he wanted to reclaim the glory, and he thought he could do it by raising their spirits. to fight for him and exert their strength and their power over the Dreamwood and rule it. So, when you make your way to the Outer Isles, the homeland of your peoples, I have to ask myself, who are you? And where do your allegiances truly lie?
Knowing that you look a hell of a lot like me, seems like our connection might lie a little deeper than just a Kenku and Corvus. Right? Because somewhere in 1,000 years of species history, etc., blah, 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 something split enough for us to become different, I guess. I'm a black bird, man. Just like you. That's it. Thanks for the history lesson. And as I walk away, I'm going to pour all my healing words onto him. And then I'll take my long rest.
You can just hear him swearing behind you guys. What the fuck? All right, so you make your way back out to the stormy seas. Now, I'm going to have, this is going to be a group check here. I need each of you to tell me what skill or ability you would like to use to make sure you arrive at the Outer Isles without a point of exhaustion.
Anyone we want?
Yeah, as long as you explain to me how you're helping out with this journey, or what you're doing in this journey to perhaps help you sustain the trip.
For me, I'm going to use my knowledge of the seas here near the outpost that I've been studying all these years and spending all my time around. Nature knowledge, I believe.
Nature? All right. Go ahead and make that nature check.
1.
Oh,
my
man.
gosh. I had +6.
That sucks.
All right.
Oh, well.
We need 3 passes, or we'll see what happens. Next
Cool.
up.
Cool. Probably would use persuasion and just have individual conversations with everybody to let them know that it's going to be fine. We're all going to be fine. They're extremely good at what they do, and this is just a little ripple in the ocean. Everything's fine.
Okay.
We have old Bog. He can keep it together.
A little pep talk for everyone. All right, I'll allow that. Go ahead.
Little pep.
All right. You got 1 success and 1 failure. Who's next?
I just thought of something. I'm
Hmm?
going to use Soto's acrobatics / dexterity to try to teach everyone how to go with the ebb and flow of the rocking skiff. Try to keep everybody on balance, I guess.
All right.
Go for it, I guess. No! Well, you know, he tried.
Oh, so close.
Ah.
All right. 1 more fail. And then you'll...
I'm gonna watch the pattern of the waves and how everyone seems to be interacting and responding to Kokuro's inspirational speeches, and just try to investigate what the best way is
Okay.
to make our way through the waves. Hopefully it'll be
I think it's good. I think it's good. Yeah!
All right.
yeah.
It's all down to old Bog.
Oh, come on.
Is this indeed a rowboat?
It has both. It has oars plus a small sail.
And a rudder, perhaps? I'll
And a rudder.
row. I'll row. I'm gonna try to power through these waves.
Strong
We
arm.
get- Wait,
With
do we
athletics
get
check.
bonus actions too?
No,
During-
this is not going to be.
Well,
You can't do bardics or guidance on this.
Athletics check for powering through the waves.
All right, go for it.
Come on. Yes!
All right.
huge. I wasn't worried.
No, me neither.
It is a long journey, but through your constant vigilance, your pep talks and your just
Yep.
brute strength as you power through these waves, and the teaching of others of how to keep your balance and not throw up. You manage to make it to the outer isles, and Edwin pulls the skiff up onto a beach littered with seashells. Ulasar and Theodore are with you, and they strap on their swords and string their bow, ready for combat. And they all kind of glance at each other nervously. In the distance, you see a bright light flit about. Can you all make a perception check for me, please?
Dang, whoever knocked my dice into a 17, thank you.
Kokoro. It's quite a distance away. And it's dark, and it's bright light. So it's difficult to discern shape. But you manage to make out what looks to be the wings of a dragonfly as a source of this light.
I will let Harlow know that.
We're getting close then. I'm going to just take out. I'm going to try to see like close up. Can I tell from this distance, like, or can Kokoro tell from this distance? Does it look like the one from my like dragonfly box?
With the dirty 20 at this distance, and just you can tell it's roughly the same size and color. Can't tell for certain unless you get a little closer to it.
I am gonna take a sharp breath and just kind of prep to make our way there. And I'm going to cast Gift of Alacrity on myself.
You make your way towards the light.
I think that's where we have to go. Right? I mean,
Oh, do you want to take some more time to search around the beach, or
did we catch anything else with that perception check of dirty 20 around the beach?
that 30-20 was specifically for that? But if you want to look around, I'll give you another perception check or investigation if you want to actually walk up and down the beach a little bit first.
No,
I would love to.
I'll take a
Looking at all the shells individually.
I'll just take a gander.
Okay.
See if there's anything else that piques the interest.
I roll it.
Yeah, I'd like to specifically look for any sign of them coming back out here because we know that they can like teleport or presumably teleported to the island, but maybe not all of them. Like, Achistel would have had to travel here since we took the shell.
Go ahead and make a survival. That would be a survival check if you're looking more like for signs of other people or anything.
I'm going to do the same thing.
All right. All right, Harlow, with your 17 survival check, as you look around the beach, there's no sign of any other footprints or indentations or tracks or anything that would indicate any kind of traffic here. And the way these shells litter it would be quite apparent if there were heavy foot traffic around here. You would see it like a path cut through them, but the beach is littered with them. Kokoro, with your perception, as you just look up and down, scan up and down the beach, it is quite empty. It's not a very large beach. It's maybe about 60 feet end to end. And the beach and the jungle comes right up to the edge of it. Right here. And there's not really any path. It's quite dense, except for where that light is. And Enid, with your investigation check, you notice that these shells seem very similar to the ones that were inside Pookie and that were hanging off Mudboot, the tree, very early on.
Is there anything, I mean, this is maybe outside of an investigation check, but like, is there anything like magical about these shells in themselves? Or does it seem like they're just kind of like an innate substance that then are influenced by magic later?
You'd have to do it'd be a very high Arcana check or a detect magic spell. Would be able to tell you that.
I don't know if we have time for me to do an identify. So
10 minutes, right?
I'm going to like let them know that I haven't been able to find any sign of them coming out to the beach or having landed in this area. So it seems that they won't detect us here, at least by like coming across each other. But I don't know what the timeline is for everything else.
Identify would only take 10 minutes to ritual cast, though, right?
Yeah. Do you guys want me to identify these shells?
I
Or to
mean,
see if there's anything magical specifically about them, or if they're just influenced by magic.
we do know that they're like rare shells specifically from this island, and like they're not from anywhere else. So they might have been influenced by magic like from the like old times. But I don't know if it would have a huge effect on what we do next. Like,
I could try the Arcana check, and if not, then we can just move on. Can I try that, Andrew?
All right.
Amazing.
From what you can tell, these shells are not magical. They seem like normal shells to you. Yeah, you can tell that they were likely just material components in some sort of enchantment, but in and of themselves, they're not magical.
That actually helps a lot. For sure. Just so you guys know, that's the only nat 20 I'm going to roll. So if you need any saving, it was wasted on this.
I'll say, Harlow, with that 17, though, you see that, I forget what you call it, like a little outcropping of rocks along one edge of the far edge of the beach. It looks like there is an area beyond that as well.
I'd like to like sneak up there and use this mirror from my like sack of useful things, belt of useful items, sorry, just to kind of peek over it and see if like there's anyone over there without them having like being able to see me.
I'd make a perception check. Holding the mirror up over the edge of the rocks as you duck behind it, you see what looks to be another small skiff pulled up on the shore, half kind of camouflaged with some foliage and big palm leaves. But yeah, and maybe some indentations in the sand leading into the jungle.
Okay. The direction of the indentations that I think might be like footprints, are they like towards us or just kind of towards the light
Towards
that we saw? Okay. I'm going to head back and let everyone know what I saw.
Anything else you'd like to do on this speech? Edwin, you can see him string his bow up together as well. He's ready to go now. So you got 2 archers.
This might be some like weird question, but just like how populated is this beach with shells?
It's pretty much what you see here. It's littered with it. They're all over the place. Very plentiful.
Trying to scoop some?
We could. I was mostly just wondering if it was like specifically like what's the selection process of the shells that are then used. That's kind of the information I was.
Are you going to take some?
Yeah, let's take some. Like the ones that like maybe some conch shells, but also some of the like clammy shells. I'm doing baby shark, but you know what I mean.
All right. So you pick out, you spend a few minutes while Harlow's off investigating beyond the rocks to pick up some shells. Old Bog, Soto, what are you up to?
I'll say back to Edwin, might want to secure the boat for your return trip.
Yeah, I'll make sure it's secure. He pulls it up onto the shore, struggles a bit with it, pulls it in as far as he can, and gets a length of rope to tie it off to a palm tree.
I think Soto's probably just talking with Ulisar about. He probably just quickly told him what happened with Rochestel and how, you know, she made an attempt on 2 people's lives and how she's probably working with the necromancer and no big deal. So I think he's probably just asking him like what his opinion is.
I don't know, brother.
Nothing has ever come up. Nothing out of place. I always just knew her as studious. How could it have come to this?
The necromancer is behind the manipulation of our sister and our brother, then I will have his head.
I can only think that he must have offered them something they couldn't refuse.
I will not fault our siblings. The fault lies squarely with Kraumein.
Are you ready?
Always, brother.
Quick question. Does anybody have anything that can make us maybe like a little bit sneakier as we try to go in here? Just stick to the brushes, kind of hide. Grab some sand, putting on my cheeks. Big Hoot, any idea? You're pretty big, man.
Question. Does the jungle count as a forest?
Is a hot dog a sand?
Yeah.
Or is it a taco?
I'll allow it. I'll allow it.
And also dim light,
Let me play at you. Huge.
because I'm pretty good in dim light. So
Yeah, I have patterned feathers, which are I get advantage on stealth checks when I attempt to hide in a forest. It's not going through a forest; it's hiding. But that's all I got.
If you decide to stand still,
Yeah.
blend like a bush, then yeah, that'll help.
Hey, Big Hoot. Moral quandary for you. If your brother and sister end up being like super evil people, how do you feel about murdering your siblings?
He doesn't answer. Just moves past you.
Cool. Good talk, Big Hoot. I'm ready to. All right. Cool. I'm just gonna kick some sand. And
I'm gonna go over to Soto after like there was not like a reply from either of them about that, and I'm gonna say before he broke, my dad told me that it's possible because Kraumein has like control over the dead that we might see him again in this fight or down the line, and that I shouldn't hesitate to do what's necessary to win. I don't know what that would be like, but I can say I understand how you feel. And I think at least your siblings get to choose, right? And you get to choose. But if you want to swap seas, I'm cool with that.
Thank you, Harlow. I'm sorry about the circumstances of your father, and I know what it's like to love a child. And I know he must have done that for you.
Thanks, Soto. I'm sorry about everything going on with your family.
It's true I've been avoiding thinking about it, but there are other things we need to attend to. If we don't deal with this threat, I might not have anything to go back to.
Then we know what we're doing it all for, right? All right, I'm going to put my hand on his shoulder and then head back to the group.
so anyway, old bog, I was asking Big Hoot this stuff, and he didn't even talk to me.
What do you want to know?
It's just thinking about, just moral quandaries and stuff. End of the world.
Fuck that. We're here for one reason.
Dang.
Guys, there is an uncanny wailing coming from within the jungle.
How far?
Mhm.
Series of them, and they seem to be getting closer.
How strongly can we sense the even chant here? Is it more than like offshore?
Go ahead and make an insight check.
So, is the wailing coming towards us?
It's coming from somewhere deep within the island, coming in your direction.
Can we? Is it like do we have like an ETA on that? Like, does it feel like it's coming towards us? Like,
Imminent.
okay, maybe we should go back to the beach and have this.
Well, you haven't even up. You're still on the beach.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
And it sounds like it's coming directly at us, like from where the light is.
No. Off to the side here, over here. I don't know if you can see my ping. So the light is at like at one corner of the beach. The wailing is coming from the other.
Move towards the light, or we're gonna
Yeah.
end up fighting on the beach.
Yep. Time to move. Moving and
All right.
grooving.
You move. Who would you say is bringing up the rear? Last.
Not me. I mean, technically, it would be Big Hoot.
I would say Bog has a little hitch in his giddy up. He's probably
Between Bog and Big Hoot,
slogging through the,
I don't
through
know.
the sand.
You went like Super Saiyan.
All right.
And
Big
maybe
Hoot.
Theodore too can be near the back since he has like archery.
Right.
Who's slow?
All right.
I mean, 30 feet, 30 walking speed.
All right, old Bog.
Big Hoot.
Yep.
Bring up the rear with Ulasar and Theodore.
Yep.
The wailing is right on you now. As soon as you step off the beach, it sounds like it's right above you. And there is a chill in the air. And as you turn to see what flies overhead, you see an army that showed up for you guys. No, it did not.
No, I don't see it.
There we go.
They're not there.
You see an army
Yo.
of Ghost Kanku
Oh god.
flying almost like in formation above you over the waves towards
Oh.
the outpost, Wickham Harbor. There are hundreds of them.
Oh, God.
You make your way into the forest, following the sleigh, and it seems to wait for you at the edge of the beach. And as you approach it, you can clearly see it now. It is a dragonfly just flying around in place. It seemed to be waiting for you, and as you approach it, it flies further ahead of you, as if to guide you.
Does it look like Harlow's?
It does.
Now that we
look
get
like
closer?
Carlos. It does look like Carlos.
Does it look like a real alive dragonfly or like a construct of some kind?
Want to try and catch it to find out, or make a perception check?
Okay.
Yeah, I think we need to follow it for sure.
Mm. Oh!
All right. You can't tell. It's just odd that a dragonfly is giving off light like a firefly, though. That's kind of weird. All right. You make your way further in. The path only goes maybe a couple hundred feet into the jungle. And it leads you to an ancient-looking temple. And here, flying around it, dozens more of these lights, these fireflies flitting about. And once more, always in the background, you hear this wailing as wave after wave of these spectral warriors head west.
What's
West.
like?
And you-
Behind us.
Sorry?
What's like
Like
towards us?
Which direction are we heading?
You're heading eastward, so they're flying in the opposite
So
direction.
west being
Oh,
behind
that's
us.
good.
Yeah, they're just going to invade the Dreamwood. That's all.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Whoops.
I'd like to talk to Kokoro a bit.
Mhm.
And just based off of like how I've seen Carlos Dragonfly react to when we play music, just say, now is kind of a precarious moment. And I'm not sure how much we can do to counteract this Eben chant. But there's something about when we play music that makes these come alive. And I'm not sure if you want to try that. But as soon as you do, you let me know.
I mean, we could try right now.
Do you think that's a smart idea?
Kind of winging all of this, so checking where we can. I mean, last time we played music at a pond, pretty good.
Okay.
Maybe when we go like inside the temple, I'm worried about giving away our position.
Me too.
As you say that, you see what looks to be the flicker of a lantern coming from deep within this temple. making its way towards the entrance. And poking her head out the entrance is Mapak.
Oh.
And she looks out there with her 2 lanterns held high and says, "Hello? Is there anyone out there?" Harlow. You recognize her immediately. It's your mother.